Hey everyone, welcome to Nerds Talk. I'm Mike,
And I'm Chris.
and today we are doing our review for episode 8 of the final season of the Clone Wars. Episode 8 is titled Together Again.
Yeah.
And if you haven't been with us before, our format is pretty much we're going to give you a spoiler-free, just what we thought about the episode without going into any details. Then we'll jump into the spoiler-heavy where we walk through the episode as a whole, discuss any things we like or didn't like, any Easter eggs that we caught onto, and then overall what we thought of the whole episode, including any spoilers if that impacts our decision. But before we get into that, just wanted to give you guys a heads up. If you'd like to support us, please subscribe to our channel. It doesn't cost you a cent, but it definitely helps us out. If you like the video, please drop a thumbs up there as well. If you'd like us to cover other TV shows or movies or comic books or anything else, shoot us an email at nerdstalkinfo@gmail.com. We'll be glad to touch base with you and see if we can set something. So with that, I guess we'll just start. This is a new format for us, joining the Zoom, the Zoom meeting here. So Chris, what did you think of episode 8?
I actually really enjoyed it. This is what I've been wanting and waiting for the Ahsoka arc. The other episodes before this kind of led up to it, but I feel like they could have shortened it into, one, maybe two episodes max. But yeah, I enjoyed it and I found it much more entertaining than the last few episodes.
Perfect. Yeah, I completely agree. So I mentioned earlier, what was going to happen based on the last episode. Would certain characters kind of continue into the new episode? And we kind of got that answered the way that this ended. But overall,
That's
I
right.
did like it. I kind of liked where it went and how it's setting up kind of going forward, how it tied in some stuff from the movies. We'll get to that obviously in a little bit. And kind of just, yeah, like while it's kind of, again, finishing up Clone Wars, it's connecting everything together very well. And I'm really excited to kind of see where we're going to go from here. The last, I guess, 4 episodes, right? Does that sound right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 episodes left. Crazy. It's time flying.
If it flies by fast. So yeah, so I mean, let's get into it. Episode 8, Together Again. We take place with them back in the jail cell, which is how the last episode ended. And they're kind of trying to figure out, who's again more passing blame and trying to figure out who's got a plan. And so, Ahsoka has an idea. And again, stop me if I'm wrong here. My memory is always kind of shoddy when I watch the episode and then try to regurgitate it right away. I jumble up some stuff, but they were kind of discussing some plans, and Ahsoka had an idea. She goes, "It's only going to work if you trust me."
That's right.
And so they get taken out. The guards kind of take them up to go speak to, I guess, the head of the Pikes, and they're all having a conversation, and he's talking about like them having to find out where the spice is, and he's going to torture them. And so Ahsoka pretty much says, you know what, I'll
Sell
we,
them out essentially.
yeah,
Like, I'll make a deal. I'll talk. And then she says, "Trust me. You're gonna want to, hear what I have to say," kind of thing. And
exactly.
that "trust me" kind of triggered with the two sisters. Like, oh, she said we have to trust each other, and this is her way of just saying, like, it seems like I'm backstabbing you, but I'm not. And then she goes further on when she's negotiating, saying, send them out so that they can get it because they hit it off world, but I don't know where it is. Leave me here as a hostage kind of thing. And then if they don't show back up in one cycle, I'll tell you where they are, where their family lives. And, the sisters knowing that they have no family was also kind of a hint that, okay, she knows what she's doing and kind of sacrificing herself.
Exactly. Exactly. So she even says she says to them the words "trust me" while they're there, right? Like while they're in the presence of everyone,
That's right.
and yeah, so they kind of got taken away, and so she's kind of there to stay behind, and so they ask I think it's the same guy. You kind of know when Ahsoka used the mind trick on the last episode on the guy, and he noticed, and he's like, "This isn't right."
Yeah.
That same soldier guy, he says something like this is unorthodox. I don't think this is a good idea, and he says, "Look, we have no choice. Like our boss
Yeah.
is pretty much requiring this stuff, and it'll be our heads if we don't get it. So our life is on the line, just like theirs is, kind of thing." So I thought that was
Exactly.
pretty cool. And then I kind of got the inkling. Okay, I kind of know who their boss is going to be. Just the way that they dropped it, I'm like, oh, interesting. Okay.
As
Um,
soon as they said that, I had the same thing. I was like, oh, I
yeah.
know who it is. And I was
Yes.
watching with my son, and I'm like, oh, do you know who it is? He's like, no, not yet. I'm like, okay, just keep watching. You'll be excited.
Yeah.
But in the past Clone Wars, it kind of showed him setting up
That's
that
right.
whole, gig and getting on them all on board, going to each planet, getting those mob crews together and showing them why they should follow him.
Exactly. So we see the two girls kind of taken to their ship, and they're about to take off. And then we zoom out, and we see the Mandalorians that are there, and they're scanning the ship, and they say, "Oh, there's no sign of the Jedi." And they're kind of like, "What is she up to?" And so they watch the ship leave. So they're there, and you're kind of like trying to figure out where Ahsoka is and what her plans are on the planet. And so the girls are off in the ship, and they're kind of making trying to figure out what to do. And Trace pretty much tells her, what was the comment she made about Ahsoka? Like, oh, didn't you realize like Ahsoka sacrificing herself for us? This is what Rafa said to Trace.
That's right.
And Trace is like, oh, well, she didn't expect us to go back. And Rafa's like, no, I am going to go back because I don't want her to lord it over me.
Hold that over my head.
Yeah, exactly. So her plan is to go down to the spice mines, I guess, not the spice mines, but the spice area of the Pikes, and basically steal their own stuff and kind of sell it back to them. Yeah. So they get down there. We kind of cut back to, I believe it's Ahsoka. Taken to the jail cell, right?
That's right. Yeah. And then she, once everyone kind of clears away, she uses her Jedi powers to open up the doors, and then starts to sneak around to get out and find what's going on at the same time.
Yeah. So she does that. She's getting out. She's listening, kind of sneaking around, getting through the hallways. And then we get to a point where she overhears a conversation between some of the head Pikes and this holographic figure, who I guess is their leader. And we know right away, as we see a little bit of the chin, and then of course we see everything. It's Darth Maul, and he is the leader of the name drops, the Crimson Dawn. So we know that this ties again with Han Solo movie, and the Crimson Dawn, and it's like it's officially there, and that's where he is at this point in time in the Clone Wars. He's already established the Crimson Dawn, and he's already starting his crime syndicate. And this is his kind of where he's at, which makes me think, oh, okay. So I mean, clearly he's in the Crimson Dawn for a while, because when we get to Solo is in his 20s during that movie, we would say, right?
Yeah.
And so he's already there. This is clearly before that, because during that point in time, correct me if I'm wrong, during the Solo movie, Anakin's already Darth Vader, right? Did Solo take place before Episode 3? No, it's after Episode 3. Before Episode 4. So so Darth Vader is already Darth Vader. So this is there's definitely been a time lapse between this point in time in the Clone Wars and Han Solo movie. There definitely is a good maybe 10 years, 15 years ish. Would you figure?
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah,
give or take. So it's cool to kind of see like him in this role as the crime boss, as as a person to be feared, but he's not really a Sith anymore. He's not going by Darth Maul. I don't think they referred to him as that. I can't remember if they even called him Maul, or they just called him boss. I can't remember how they referred to him, but they had the conversation with him, and then Ahsoka sees who it is, and then Maul senses something. Even though I love that. Even though he's not there, he's a holographic projection. He can sense something, and then you think that well he can see whatever the holographic projection lets him see. He's able to walk in his area, and then his holographic image is able to move so he can see more, which I find is so crazy from a technology standpoint. Like, you think, okay, he can only see what their camera lets him see, right? He can move around, but he's only going to see what they're letting him see. But yet, no, when he adjusts himself, his holograph walks around to the point where he can look over the edge. Like, I thought that was pretty cool. It's interesting in how they've set that up. But he looks over, he doesn't see anything there, and he makes a comment that he's got to take care of some stuff, right? So I thought, oh, he's on his way here. This is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, okay, he's getting on his plane. He knows there's a Jedi. He's heading down there himself. But that's neither here nor there. They talk about an issue with... did they mention a Jedi at this point? There was an issue with a Jedi...
well, Maul asks, is there a Jedi involved? And they're like, I don't know. But then they wiped out the whole team without any trace. So he's like, there must be. Then there is a Jedi kind of thing, he says.
Yes. Right. So anyway, so they kind of break off. The head of guys kind of go through a door. She follows them around. And this is all while she's planting bombs throughout the whole facility, right? Her plan is to kind of blow this place up and try to sneak out. So she's planting bombs, and she follows them through a door. She gets on, I guess, the communications array to figure out where the call came from.
Where that transmission, that's right, yeah.
And as she's doing that, they come back into the room, surround her, and are pretty much like jigs up. She uses the Force to attack and stuff, but she still ends up getting overwhelmed. Then the guy kind of comes in and says, oh, you're a Jedi. Oh, now we know.
Yeah.
And then does he ask...
So they think the Jedi Council sent her, to
Yes.
infiltrate them and working for the Jedi Council, and asks if her friends are with them or whatnot. Which Ahsoka says they don't know anything. They don't, they're not part of this. So they capture her again. They have enough, and then they stun her and knock her out and bring her back.
That's right. And does he question her about like, he asked them if their friends are Jedi. She says no, and I don't remember if he asks like, do they know you're a Jedi? But it comes up where she says something like, they don't know, right? Like she
Yeah.
flat out says like, they don't know that I'm a Jedi, kind of like they're not part of this kind of. So yeah, so she gets taken back. We kind of cut back to the girls. They're on the platform. They land. They decide to like contact them, saying like, we're coming in for like a special run or whatever. And the guy's like, oh, this is unorthodox. He's like, have you ever done this before? He's like, well, yeah, like once before. He's like, well, this is another one of those times. Let's go load up our ship, whatever. Scares the guy, says like, yeah, call your boss, because when he comes, he's gonna ask what's the slowdown. It's gonna be your fault. So they all freak out. She's
strong arming them for sure. Yeah.
So they load the ship up. But the head honcho there, the foreman, is kind of like, yeah, this isn't fly. And so she's like, again, kind of pressing him and trying to like bully him, and then she doesn't realize that the boss is coming up behind her. And Trace is like, Rafa, like turn around, and it's a Trandoshan. So these guys are super strong, really, really big. They're great hunters, or bred for that stuff. So they're there, and so she tries to like punch him, and of course, like shrugs it off like it's nothing, and they get into a scuffle, so they're funny around. And so during this time, the spice is already loaded on the ship. Trace has to grab like a pipe. Was it Trace? Grabs a pipe, or was it Rafa? One of them grabs.
So they both end up grabbing a pipe.
They start like knocking guys out and start fighting.
Yeah.
Rafa and the Trandoshan guy kind of end up on this lift. Starts going up, and so Trace is fighting some guys off and tries to get to the lift. While this is happening, like Trandoshan has thrown her a few times, and looks like she's gonna get thrown off this cliff. But I guess with Trace hitting the buttons or whatever, shakes it a bit. He loses some of his balance, which allows Rafa to kind of get the best of him and kind of climb up over his head.
Yeah.
And then is able to like release the lever and like drop him down into
that's right.
Gone at this point. And Trace kind of brings her back down, and she's like, oh, good job, Trace, like you took out all these guys, awesome. So they kind of hurry up, get on the ship, and take off. While this is happening, we cut back to the main part, and this is where it gets fuzzy here. Does it just show them landing and heading in?
So Ahsoka is talking with
she's in handcuffs.
Yeah, and she's talking with the main Pike leader.
Yeah.
And then he's going to execute her, but then they come in and say, stop everything you're doing. We have your spies.
Yes.
And then he's essentially saying, yeah, you're fools, I'm getting your spice anyways, so now you can all kind of die since you're working with the Jedi. And that's when they reveal that Ahsoka's a Jedi and that the sisters didn't really know. So that's when the Pike leader said, oh, they really didn't know, and they really aren't a part of this, and you're just using them as the Jedis do.
So they get into a scuffle. Ahsoka uses the Force. I think one of them tries to shoot her, and she turns and gets her handcuffs blown off, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Correctly.
Yeah. So that's how they dislodge.
Yeah, and so then they're all like fighting and stuff, and I can't remember. This is where it's all fuzzy for me. So if you want to fill in at this point, I know there's a scuffle and they get out, but I can't remember what takes place other than they just.
So I believe Ahsoka kind of force pushes them all down, and then they start running, and then the main Pike tells them to run after them. They run up onto the ship, they take off, and I believe 3 ships follow behind.
That's right.
Them, and then
so Ahsoka gets on the guns
that way.
And she's trying to explain to them, and they're not really listening to her. They get onto the ship, and then they said something about like her
since you're a Jedi, you get a shooting.
Yeah, and she's like, yes. And so she gets on the guns, and she takes one out, and they're flying around, and then
so she takes 2 out in total, but then the rear deflector ends up, the shields are down, and then
the
gun gets hit. So then Trace ends up turns around and saying, our shields in the front are down, and then Ahsoka's like, I don't like this idea, and Rafa's like, I actually agree with Ahsoka here and don't like this idea. But Trace kind of just plays chicken with him, essentially.
Yeah, he uses her fancy maneuvering and gets out of the way in the nick of time and causes the other plane to crash, and so they're free. So they get out, they escape, and their plane is filled with spice at this point. No one talks about it. They're filled with spice because they were never showed them unloading. Right? They just says, remember your spice, and they get arrested, and then they break out and run out. So as far as I'm concerned, they still have the spice. They take off, I guess, back to their place. And at this point, the Mandalorians...
You see another ship. Yeah.
Take off. And that ship is a famous one. It was used by another Mandalorian in Rebels, I believe it was. The guy who's dressed in the red and white. What's his name? Gar Saxon.
Gar Saxon.
Yeah, that's the same ship, that same looking ship. I don't know if it is the same ship that he takes over down the road in the future, but it's the same ship anyway. They take off, so they're heading and they're following them. They get back to the base. They kind of get out. Ahsoka tries to talk to them about the situation, and I think it's Rafa that kind of comes out and admits like you're a Jedi, but you're exactly
the type of Jedi we want.
Yeah.
We want the Jedi to be.
How they should be, yeah. And so how they're kind of accepting of her, and she's like, I was a Jedi, but I'm not anymore. And they're like, yeah, but you're the kind of person that they should be, and
that's right
with her. And then we know that they're home free, and Ahsoka is talking about no, then the Mandalorians show up, right?
That's right.
And so they come off. The main one takes off her helmet. Now, you've seen Clone Wars more recently than me, so I can't remember her name. You remember her name?
Oh, I don't remember her name, but she was part of Death Watch, and then once Maul killed their leader, she took off because she didn't want to follow Maul.
Correct.
And her and a bunch of other people that are still part of her clan took off.
They're trying to get back at.
That's right.
The crew
Maul.
That was following Maul and all.
That's why they say, at first Ahsoka's like, get behind me to the two sisters, because they had issues with those Mandalorians, the Death Watch in the past. But now, she came out and said, we pretty much have the same enemy, and she shows a hologram of Maul, and saying that we need to team up to take him down.
So so Ahsoka's kind of, this is going to take me down a path I don't want to be.
That's right.
Like, oh, does that mean down a path towards the Jedi? And she's like, yes. And so, what was the line that they gave her? I didn't write it down, but it was very clutch. It was
it's kind of like, that's the path that
you're meant to be on. Like, it's something that you need to do. Like, this is like, I don't know. I can't remember.
You're built for this kind of thing.
Yeah,
like, this is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, and make it right. You know what I mean?
That's
like,
right.
it just so cool. And so she's like, okay. And then like, what are you gonna do with the bike? And she's like, I'm gonna leave it here for the time being, which hints at, oh, she could be back, or she could something, right? But I'm like, okay, that's cool. We might still see the sisters. She takes off with the Mandalorians, and because they know exactly where Maul is located, and their plan is, I guess, to go after him, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So she gets on the ship and she takes off, and that pretty much ends it, right? Is there any more dialogue between the sisters, or is that pretty much it?
Nope. They just watch her take off, and the ship flies up through the corridor, and
that's how it ends. Yeah. So it's very interesting. I mean, like we said, really cool episode. Got to see the Death Watch is done. They've officially said it. We know that Crimson Dawn has officially started. Darth Maul is ahead of it. How he was connected to the Mandalorians, and how Ahsoka was connected to the Mandalorians, and like how they're kind of bringing it all full circle. Kind of leave the sisters, the Martez sisters, where they began, but again changed their outlook on, kind of got closure on like their thoughts towards the Jedi. They're not all evil. And I guess their relationship between each other, and like actually trusting each other, and it's not just about the older sister doing what she believes is right, but they both have a role to play. And Trace kind of proving herself and saying like, I am worth something. I'm a pilot. I'm able to save your life just like you can save mine, and hopefully this relationship will help them do something that's not so shady going forward. I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, man, I mean, overall, I thought it was a great episode. I liked, like I said, the connective tissue and how they tied this together with the Han Solo movie, and just like stuff going forward. And I'm excited.
Like the Mandalorian,
yes.
So Ahsoka's planned to be in the live action Mandalorian season 2. Mm-hmm. So does she become, because of this partnership with the Mandalorian? That's
what I'm wondering.
Is this kind of like, are they going to explain it more in the Mandalorian season 2?
Setting up
and
roots.
Then that's right. And so as soon as I heard Death Watch, I was like, oh, I think her name is Kira, the girlfriend of Han. I was like, oh, I wonder if they'll like kind of introduce her.
Well, she's part of the Crimson Dawn
of it,
because she's in Solo, so she wasn't part of Death Watch. But yes, but again, she was. So she was. We know that
it might be too young.
Yeah, because that's what I'm saying. Like, this seems like because Anakin's not even Darth Vader yet. We know Episode 3 happens. Like when this season finishes, will be right up to the beginning of Episode 3 for the most part.
Right.
And with that being said, we know
that Solo takes place right after Episode 3, technically in the timeline.
Yes, but it's within 5-10 years.
Yeah, possibly.
Because we're thinking like, again, Luke is born at the end of Episode 3, And if you look at the difference between Luke and Han's age, Han is supposed to be in his early to mid 30s in the original trilogy, and Luke is teenager, would you say? Like 18,
Yeah, I think
19,
he's like
16?
16,
Something like that, right? Like he's supposed to be portrayed as a teenager.
So he's like half his age, like
give or take. So you'd figure
roughly.
that if that's the case, there's a 15-year gap, let's say at the minimum, a 15-year gap between Luke and Han. Then we know that Solo and
Kira
would have to be within 15 years at the end of
now when they get separated at the, I don't want to say the spaceport kind of thing, where they get separated in the door. Kira gets trapped, like taken back to being a slave, essentially.
Mhm.
How old do you think they are? Like, do you think they're in their teens in that stage? Like, he's still.
I would say so.
cars,
Yes, I would say that was the case, because then we say years go by. Like he goes joins the Empire.
That's right.
They've been in the war. He was in the war for at least, it sounded like a few deployments or whatever. So I would assume it's been a few years. If the movie even did flash up like 3 years later, I can't remember if they did flash that up, but he was definitely in there for a few years in the army, and then he leaves with Beck, right? Beckett.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's definitely some time lapse. I would say that they were teenagers at the beginning of that movie. So again, depending on how close that starts up, there could be teenagers at the end of episode 3, and that movie could pick up fairly close. We know that the Crimson Dawn has already been established before episode 3. We know that now, right? So it is possible that Han Solo is 12 during this particular episode. We don't know exactly, but we know it's pretty close. So with that being said, Ahsoka's setting up roots with the Mandalorian. That's the point where we're getting at. And then how this is going to set up, because we know that, again, spoilers, again, if you haven't watched Rebels and stuff, the way that show ends is, she has her own role to play. Let's just put it that way, without getting into specifics. She has her own role to play, and kind of where that takes place. We know that Mandalorian is after that. Takes place after Rebels, because it's after episode 6, right? So we know that for a fact that Ahsoka's going to be obviously much older, and we know that if her other partner is going to be in the show, we don't know. We don't know how far ahead. Like, we don't know exactly. Like, is she going to be like, oh, she's like 52.
She's gone already?
Like, we don't know how. Yeah. So it's very intriguing. I'm very interested to see exactly how they pick it up, and like at the end of Rebels, does she stay as a that figurehead, or does she kind of go back and join back to the Mandalorian clan? We don't know. Like, we don't know her relationships at that point. There's a lot of gap between End of Rebels and Mandalorian, so we don't know. There's a lot of stuff that could have happened. She either goes back to the Mandalorians, or she just stays in touch, or she completely becomes the person that we see at the end of Rebels and stays as that person. So we'll have to wait and see how they tie it in with Mandalorian. And I'm sure they're going to give us some backstory to fill in the gaps between Rebels and this, right? If Dave Filoni's on it, and they're using Ahsoka, they're going to have to definitely do that.
Oh, definitely.
So, yeah, man. I mean, but your thoughts, this overall, like this end to the next arc, so to speak.
Yeah. So I really liked it. I liked, like how you said, it's setting up past relationships and really setting up future ones, which I'm excited for. This will kind of fill in some gaps, in the past, but it'll also kind of give little Easter eggs and hints on what's upcoming. So I'm really excited for that. Love that Ahsoka's going with the Mandalorians now. Eventually she'll be, face to face with Maul, which would be great. Maul was always a great character in my opinion.
She's never gone up against Maul in the Clone Wars as of yet.
No,
right?
no.
I remember Maul went up against Obi-Wan and Anakin, was it? But him and Savage against, was it him and, no, was it him and Shakti?
The Santra, who's Duke, who's ex-apprentice?
Remember, it's not Luminara, is it? Adigalia?
Visage, Ventress?
Yes. Ventress is his apprentice, but
she went to the Night, or the Night Sisters, right?
Yes, I'm thinking of when Maul and Savage are teaming up and doing a fight, both of them against two Jedi. And I thought it was it Obi-Wan and Anakin, or was, I mean, you watched it more recently than me, but both of them, there was an episode where it was Savage and Maul, both of them fighting two Jedi at the same time.
So I remember them fighting Obi-Wan.
Was it Adigalia? It was Ventress. Ventress was on Obi-Wan's side?
Yeah. Which threw him off, but she was trying to get back because Savage was the new apprentice for Dooku.
Okay, so maybe that's why I thought it was two Jedi. Kind of, and I thought like Obi-Wan got away, but the other Jedi died. And I thought it was Adigalia or Maybe I'm just mixing up this and maybe something from Rebels or something. I can't remember, but
Possibly.
I don't know. But anyhow, yes. So, what was the point I was getting at? I remember. Yeah, Ahsoka hasn't like faced Maul officially, right?
Not yet. Not
So,
not that I can remember.
yeah. So this will be like her first confrontation, at least what we see in the trailers, right? And again,
Yeah.
we still don't know where she get the two blue lightsabers from.
Yeah.
Do the
And the
Mandalorians
dark
have them?
saber, right? Like, is this how they get the dark saber to all the people that have the dark saber before it shows up in the Mandalorian at the end
So
of the
in Clone
Mandalorian?
Wars,
Yeah.
because I remember Rebels clearly, and I remember obviously Mandalorian. Clone Wars, I know it was shown where they had to go. He's getting jumbled up with Rebels here because I don't know. There's nothing to do with
So
Sabine.
Darth Maul has it right now.
Yes.
Because he defeated.
But he had it when he was the leader of the
Death
Death Watch. So he killed the leader. He took it. It was his. But now the Death Watch is no more. They just
That's
talked
right,
about that. So what happened? Like, did he leave it with another Mandalorian? I can't remember what happened to it in the Clone Wars the last time we saw it.
So I believe he still runs the Mandalorians, and he uses that as whoever holds this runs not just Death Watch but all Mandalorians.
But even though he's now part of the
supreme
Crimson
leaders.
Dawn, you still think the Crimson Dawn is also with Mandalorians? You think?
I believe so. I think that's kind of his crew, and then he has other mobs groups that are affiliated with them.
Okay, so this is just
kind of the overhead.
And this is just one of the clans saying like, we're not with Maul. We've kind of branched out. Okay,
that's right. Yeah.
All right, perfect. Yeah. So,
but yeah, really enjoyed it. So a great story arc at the end there, and I liked how she kind of blew up the Spice Mine at the same time, so she was doing good and what she wanted to, and kind of stopped that production from being made. Yes. And so yeah, I quite enjoyed it finally. So that was nice.
Really great, and that's how that's sort of the escape was, because then the bombs went off, and then
that's right,
picked them up, and then they fought. So
right.
Yeah, again, very well done. I can't wait for the final 4 episodes or 5.
Oh yeah, these are going to be jam packed, I think.
Yeah, action. And we it's not. I don't think it's just going to be Ahsoka and Maul. I'm pretty sure Anakin or someone else is going to be in it. I'm pretty sure, because we have to get their kind of how they end
conclusion. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really stoked for that. Seeing how they tie everything up with a nice bow. I'm really stoked for season 2 of Mandalorian. Which I hope is still slated for November, because I don't know, were they done shooting before the whole COVID situation?
I'm not sure if they were done, because if they were done and they were just doing kind of post-production stuff, hopefully they have enough people set up that they can continue the post-production.
Yes.
And work on that. But I haven't heard anything officially pushed back on Disney Plus end. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if we're done filming and if they got everything the way that they wanted.
Yeah. Well, there you have it, folks. That was our thoughts on episode 8, Together Again, on the final season of Clone Wars. We both really enjoyed it, but let us know what you thought. Did you agree with our opinions? Did you really like this episode? Did you not like it? Tell us why. Drop a comment below. We'd love to hear from you. Shoot us an email. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Talk Nerds, or on Facebook at facebook.com/Nerds Talk Canada. And as always, friends, stay nerdy.
Stay nerdy.